Look at this damn list of Brother Rice. All these people I found out. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Damn, that 12 athletes that have the potential to go Division I from a program. Like that shit is not happening every day, every year. That's a generational team.
For Brother Rice?
For Brother Rice, yes. Is it nobody can I don't even have to have known about football for the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years. You're not finding high school programs on average with 10 plus athletes who could go Division I. It's just not happening. It's not happening that way. Even the best of the best is not happening that way, bro. Like the amount of athletes that Mark Carmel has rated right now in 24/7 Sport database 4 or 5 stars, that's a lot for one team to have. So yeah, these are generational programs we're watching right now. This is not just something that you should take for granted. This is generational. It won't happen for a while.
You brought up a good point because now you got me on the ISSA website, and I want to see because even we mentioned that about Loyola, like they three-peated, but Loyola only has like what 6 state championships or something like that. They don't have nearly as many as Mount Carmel, I don't think, right?
I'm not sure. I couldn't even tell you for sure how many they have.
Because I'm trying to see because Mount Carmel could 4-peat this year, but I think they went on a drought for a while, like in the early 2000s for state championships. It's looking like
possibly
Bishop McNamara's in Kankakee.
Yeah, yep. That's why I was telling you that. Like with Bradley Bourbonnais, like some of those players are over at Bishop McNamara now. Yeah, it's in Kankakee. I would have never known.
So if we look at Mount Carmel, they won back to back I'm looking back when we were in high school. So 2012 they won in 8A, and then 2013 they won in 7A, and then they didn't win again until they was on a bit of a drought. They didn't win again until they didn't win again until 2019 in 7A, and then they didn't win that following year, and then now they on a 3-peat.
Yeah.
So you are right. You got a point. That's a good point to make. That like it's just what you should call it, catching lightning in the bottle.
Catching lightning in a bottle. Yeah. It's just sometimes you just get, and that's why I told you about timing. Like sometimes you just get a class that this is just a phenomenal class, but you just got to think about it over the course of years when there's like, okay, 2 good players this year, 1 good player this year, 3 good players this year. And the class, it just varies. Now imagine you strike and you get 10 good players in a class. I mean, you hit one, you hit the lottery. But that rarely happens though. It's not going to happen every year unless obviously if you're recruiting the best players. But if it's just by chance of you just getting groups of classes in, you're not getting 10 players that's Division I caliber on one team. It's just the odds just don't even work that way, So
I'm gonna take it back to starting with 2000. All right, so actually let's start in the 90s. So the 90s, they look like they was running some stuff in the 90s. Hold on. My bad. We're going to get into the episode.
No, you good. You good.
It was a great part.
I think this is a good segment.
Yeah, it was just a great thing that you brought up. So let's just start with, I'll start with 88. All right. So 88, they won 6A. That was the highest class at that time. So it was only 6 classes in the 80s. It looks like the 8 class system didn't come until, it didn't come until 01. That's when they introduced the 8 class system. So going back to 88, they won in 88 6A, beating East St. Louis. LOL. And then East St. Louis won then they went down to 5A the following year. How the hell did they win 6A and then go down to 5A?
Who, Mount Carmel?
Yeah, they won 5A in 89 and 90. So they won 88 and 89. They won 88 in 6A. They won 89 in 5A. Then they won 90 in 5A, so they 3-peated. They actually 4-peated. They won 5A in 91. So they was running stuff clearly back then. And then it looks like they did not win in 92. They didn't win in 93. They didn't win in 94. They did not win in 95. So they didn't win again until...
They won in 96.
No, they didn't win. Oh, yeah,
5A.
They won in 96. I'm seeing, 5A. I missed it. So they won again in 96. Then they did not win the following year, but then they won again in 98. They won again in 99. They won again in 2000. And then the 8-class system got introduced in 2001. They did not win. And then 02, they won in 6A. And then 03, they didn't win. 04, they didn't win. 05, they didn't win. 06, St. Rita won that year in 06. That was the last time St. Rita won the state championships. So yeah, they was on a drought in the 2000s, bro. 07, they didn't win.
08, they didn't.
08, they didn't.
Nothing in 9. Nope.
10, nope. So they didn't really, they went on a drought for majority of the 2000s to be dominant in the late 80s and most of the 90s. They went on a drought, and then they didn't win again until we were in high school.
Yeah, 2012.
Then 2013, they won back to back. I wonder if the Grizz was there that year. They probably had to be. They probably had to have been. Milton Greer and Brandon Greer, I think so. And then they didn't win in 14, which is my senior year. And then they didn't win in 15. Yeah, so damn. If people really look at that, they'll probably have a different conversation about. Well, I mean, obviously they're private schools, so they're going to consistently be good because they can recruit. Like that's clear as day. I'm not taking away from that. But even in being able to recruit, they're dominant, but
bro, like
they go on spurts though. They go on spurts. It's not like every year in and year out, as we just saw, they were on a cold streak for a while in the 2000s.
Bro, I went through this. I remember. I don't remember the exact graphic that I made, but you remember I made that graphic with Chicago versus Catholic, and there I proved like, bro, stop all this Catholic League domination talk, because once you go through the decades of the history of the wins and losses in the state finals, it's not that far apart. As far as city public state champions and Catholic state champions, the total is not that far apart for real.
Yeah, because even you can look at one year, because last year it was a sweep. It was a sweep of private schools.
Yeah,
but it was dominated.
Yeah.
But if you look at a year like 2021, Lockport won 8A public school. Wheaton North won 7A public school.
Yep.
Cary Grove won 6A public schools. 5A, 4A was private schools. Fenwick, as well as, is Fenwick a private? Yeah, Fenwick's a private school. Yeah. Joliet Catholic won 4A. But then Byron, I believe, is a public school. Wilmington, I think, is a public school. And Lena Winslow, I think, is a public school. So yeah, it's
bro, I'm telling you, it's not as, but people have recency bias. So it's like, yeah, as of late, as of late, it just look crazy. It's over the top because Loyola could go for 4, Mount Carmel could go for 4, Naz is going for 3, or what they'll be going for the third one if they win.
No, I think they're going for 4 as well.
Naz going for, so I think that's why, because it just looks a little bit too crazy right now with 3 teams going for 4.
And it's all from the same conference.
Yeah.
So 3 teams could go for 4 and they're all from the same conference. One of them can't go for 4 because 2 of them have to meet in 8A.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, that's why I was like, man, cut it out. Cut all the private, the Catholic, the public, the recruiting. Like, it's not that much of an advantage, bro, because it's extremely difficult to win. At the high school level is the one level where you can be talented and lose. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just, you know what I mean? But yeah.
I feel like I think it is a point. The only point that can be, I guess it's a super important point, I guess, is the recruiting element of it. Like, Catholic leagues are able to recruit.
I don't know. I would.
But there's also a rule, and we were talking about this yesterday, but there's also a rule in place that a kid, if he's transferring from one private school to another private school, he has to sit out a year.
Yeah.
He's ineligible. Unless he goes from private to public, then he won't have to be eligible. But like, say, even if he goes from private to public, then to another private, he has to sit out a year. So it's like, I don't know, bro. Yeah. It's a lot of conversation, and obviously I work at the IHSA. I'm not going to go into detail about what the conversations are, but it's a lot of conversations being had about a lot of this. Even before I was at the IHSA last year, was a lot of conversations being had about it. So it's like, it's interesting, bro. How much do you think? I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna just ask the question: how much of you think is excuses as a part of it?
I would say, how much can I give without it being 100? 8, 90, 95. No, seriously, when you really think about it, because we're talking about a couple players. How I was just telling you, Brother Rice's, the Mount Carmels are anomalies. Like, let's take them on the table because you're never going to get 10 players that are 4 or 5 star athletes that are going Division 1. Like, you're not gonna, that typically won't happen. So let's say the best player in your community goes to a Mount Carmel, or the best player from goes to St. Rita or Brother Rice. Fine, it's one player. He isn't gonna make the difference in that team winning a state championship. It's a culture that's going to get them a state championship. It's not a player. You can replace these players at Mount Carmel with other players. They're still going to be Mount Carmel because they have a system. They have a foundation of success and development, you know? So I don't think as much of, okay, they're recruiting and they're winning crazy. It's more so of the excuses. And I think I talked about this. Do what you need to do within your community, with your school, to retain your athletes. And it's really that simple. It's
And
really simple.
yeah, and another thing we did brought up last week is, I don't know if it was last week, but the legacies that come through as well. Oh,
Give people something to be proud of. Give people something to want to play for. I want to go here because of this. And a perfect example, I know people hate for us to talk about it, but is Morgan Park. Like, that's a perfect example of a school that lacks resources. But I will tell you that people from all around will want to go to Morgan Park if they could. If they were allowed to say, hey, I could go to any school I want to, there will be people that pick Morgan Park and they don't have the best resources. They don't have the best facilities. They don't have the best anything. But because they have a culture of winning and success in the program, visually, people love Morgan Park and what they do and what they represent. I'm going to go play there and have less resources than me staying in this suburban school where my weight room is big as a college gym. I got an 8-lane track. We got our own field. We got everything we could possibly want. I'm not going there. I'm going to Morgan Park. That's the difference, bro. And we see it every year. We see it every year. You know, so I'm not with the recruiting, man. Look, recruit in your community and you'll be just fine. I guarantee you.
and another thing I want to mention, we get so, because football is clearly the biggest sport, at least in the fall, is clearly the biggest sport in the IHSA, right? And we get so caught up in football, bro.
Yeah, that
We
is
get
true.
super caught up in football. But I mean, we have to do a more deeper dive into other sports because, like,
Well, if we
private
talking,
schools, yeah, private schools do have an advantage in recruiting, element of recruiting. I'm not knocking that, but I remember when we were in high school, Simeon was constantly winning state for football. I mean, for basketball,
why?
constantly. I couldn't
Why?
remember. I remember going into every year in high school. I'm like, Simeon finna win state, and then it's transitioned to like Morgan Park, right? And then some way, skipping away or whatever, it transitioned to Kenwood.
Look,
So it's like
just test. You go
Phillips
ahead,
also
test the
has won a
term.
state championship. I was talking to a kid from that was a part of that Phillips state championship team for football.
Mm-hmm.
So they also won a state championship in the CPL. And yeah, I think you made a great point too as well. It's timing, because we talk about that Morgan Park team from last year. If they were here this year, they'd probably be a favorite to win
Definitely.
5A 100% because of JCA and Nazareth moving up a class. Obviously, they would still, and more honestly, Morris is in 4A now too. If you
Mm-hmm.
take it a step further,
My bad.
let me fact check that real quick. I think Morris would be, based on the Associated Presses, and I'm going based off the Associated Presses, not definite, but Associated Presses ranking. But I think Morris is in 4A this year. I believe so. So that's also a good element to add. Like, Morris being in 4A this year, and if Morgan Park, hypothetically, obviously speaking, if Morgan Park, that team from last year, was here this year, they'd probably be undeniably the favorite to win 5A. But it all goes back to timing, like you said.
It
Let's
all
see.
goes down.
Morris is currently sitting at 3 in Associated Press's 4A rankings from last week. This is not the updated rankings, but yeah, Morris is sitting at 3, Rochester sitting at 2, and Montini Catholic's at number 1. Montini Catholic, we'll get to that later. Sorry, welcome back to another episode of the OFFSZN Podcast. I'm your host, Trey Hall. This is my other host here, FAOVA. We had gotten to a conversation, had to get right into it, but welcome back to another episode. A lot to discuss. Good games happened this past weekend. We will break those down for you soon. But conversation we was having is just about the success of teams and specifically the private schools versus the public schools. This is a conversation that constantly is brought up. It was a big conversation last year with a lot of the private school. It was a sweep, you said, right?
Just about East St. Louis.
East St. Louis, yeah, outside of East St. Louis. Private schools swept, not swept, but won majority of the classes for the football season for state championships. But we asked the question, is it, more of an excuse that public schools are making, or is it actually a problem here with private schools constantly dominating, state championships for football or other sports? But I don't know. I don't know. It's
I know. I know. And there's no somebody could get on here and we can have a discussion about it. And there's nothing that I've heard that makes sense to me.
It makes
Your
for a
play,
good discussion though.
yeah, it does, but it just it's hard. If I'm even being transparent, it's hard to argue the other side simply because where do the Catholic schools get their players from? Not from within a 5 or 10 mile radius of their actual school. So that means they're pulling their kids from your community, the other schools. So if you kept your kids in the community at your school, they wouldn't be able to go to the Catholic schools. The Catholic schools wouldn't have good players. So that's really the whole thing. It's not like all of these players are coming from the community of the Catholic school. It's not happening that way. I told you I was at the gym out here in Cherville. I see kids walking around with Mount Carmel shirts on. Like, so, I mean, that just shows you the range of what people are attending Mount Carmel. And so why aren't they going to Lake Central? Why aren't they going to Munster? Why aren't they going to Highland? Why are they choosing to drive 50 minutes, an hour to go to Mount Carmel? Is as simple as that. It really is.
I'm glad we're talking about this right now because this actually came up as a question on our midpoint last year, and I think it was around the time when we found out Coach Padge was going to be retiring after the season, and we brought up like what needed to be done for TF South to turn it around, and you brought up some points. I want to pose another question to you because we talk about this a lot. You mentioned that these private schools like Mount Carmel and other private schools or whatever are not pulling from within their 5 mile radius. They're pulling from, the suburban communities and other communities, whatever, right? You even mentioned that there are some kids that you saw that live in Indiana that, probably go to Mount Carmel, right? What does a school, I'm a head football coach of a school that's trying to build a program. What does a school need to do to get kids to stay into the community? Obviously, it starts with the parents, right? Because ultimately, it's not the kids' decision to go to a certain school; it's the parents. But what does a head coach have to do in order to get a parent or parents to buy in and say, "Hey, we're trying to build something here, and we're trying to retain kids at this school so we can have a dominant program"? What does a head coach have to do?
You have to establish a relationship with your community. Don't run away from your community. Don't sit in the school thinking that, okay, people are just going to come in and whatever athletes come in, that's what we're going to get. Like, no, you have to do the work. You have to make phone calls. You have to talk to parents. You have to hold meetings. You have to do things to get the community involved. If there's a feeder program, have them playing on your field. Have a junior team of whatever your high school is. Having events where they're coming around. I see like schools like Sandberg, they have like Father's Night and they do stuff with the community, and just a lot of other schools I see on social media posting. I know Crown Point does a good job where they bring the moms in. You have to have events with these families so that you're building a family and you're building trust. And then so at points where you got Catholic schools, how we talked about Mount Carmel, them having a lineage, right? It's the same thing for a community. Me, you, and other people have grown up in the same area for our whole lives, and our brothers have gone to the same school. Our sisters, our uncles, like our family has gone to the same school. Like we went to TF South. I had a cousin that went to TF South. I got friends that have brothers that go, younger brothers, older brothers. So it's still that lineage is there. It exists in the community, in the public schools. But you have to figure out a way to retain the ones that are better and want better. So now if I'm a father and I went to South and it turned out a certain way for me, and now I have a son and we may still live in the Lansing, Linwood community, I'm probably going to be like, I want him to have a better situation. So let me get him we're going to go to Mount Carmel. We're going to go to St. Rita. We're going to go to Brother Rice. That's the difference. But you have to build a community. You have to build that legacy within your community, and it will work because there are so many great athletes. And I'll speak specifically to Lansing and Linwood. When we came into our freshman year, We lost a bunch of people to not even the Catholics. People were leaving South going to Simeon, going to Morgan Park. I remember
Richards.
this. Yes, on our freshman team. We had a solid freshman team. After my freshman year, so many people transferred out that I knew that for a fact still staying in Linwood and Lansing. For a fact. So this has been happening. So it's not that we don't have the talent in the area. It's just the talent isn't staying because it's not worth it. We know nothing is going to come from this. We know we're going to lose. We're not going to get to the next level. All of these different things come with going to South. So I'm not going. And we're just using South as the example because we went there. It's not directed towards them. I'm just saying this is what's happening all over. And these are the same coaches saying it's an unfair advantage and recruiting and making all these excuses when you have what you need in your community. You just have to figure out a way to keep them there. Do your own recruiting. If Mount Carmel was trying to recruit a kid from Lansing, Illinois, TF South should be doing a better job at recruiting a kid that is in Lansing, Illinois. It should be a battle. But coaches don't want to compete. Is that what it is? You don't want to compete. You feel like I shouldn't have to compete with a Catholic school to keep a kid from my community home? Is that the mentality? Because guess what? If it is, you getting your ass kicked. And you just gonna cry about it. It's simple as that. You either play the game or you're gonna lose. It's really that simple. So I just really think that, I mean, you just really have to just do a better job at retaining the community and give them something to play for. These suburban schools, I'll keep making the comparison, TF South just got a new field, a new track. The weight room is bigger than college weight rooms that I've been in. Our weight room is an old gym. It was a basketball court in there. And now it's a whole weight room. So you have every resource you need to be a dominant team in 6A because they teeter 6 and 7A. But they have everything they need to be a dominant program except for the athletes. And there are plenty of great athletes that come through Linwood and Lansing. I know for a fact. Yeah. I know them personally. And if it wasn't,
yeah.
Obviously, we can't give names, but these are right. Obviously, we can't. Of course, we can't. But these are players who will make an impact. Like we're not talking about regular. We're talking about people who are playing places that are now playing at the next level. But this is the common story. This is the theme amongst all of the public schools. Like you see it everywhere.
Yeah, I think the first time I noticed it, I'm not, because right now I feel like we're talking majority about football, right? But if we take it to baseball, because I play baseball in Lansing, and if anybody know around the South Suburbs, Lansing pretty much won the South Suburbs, ran the South Suburbs for baseball when it came to baseball. And obviously it showed when we played in districts, my brother was part of teams that when they won state championships and stuff, and, and I used to always ask the question, it was like, how the heck are the Lansing old timers running baseball in the South Suburbs in the summer, but when we get to TF South, a lot of those players don't come there. Like I see players go to Brother Rice or Mount Carmel, and I'm like, and a lot of us would go there. Like, don't get me wrong, like it wasn't like all of us was leaving because I was there, a couple other players as well. I don't need to say their names, but a lot of us were playing at South, but a lot of the good pitchers and hitters and stuff was not playing at South. And I used to always think, I'm like, bro, why the heck do they go to private schools? Why are they going to Marian Catholic? Why are they going to, Brother Rice and Mount Carmel and stuff? Why aren't they staying here? And then as I became an adult and we had more conversations like this, it started to click like, oh, it's because they may not have one to play for a specific program. I won't even say a coach. I would say a specific program, because historically what has this program done, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, I've never been a high school football coach, so that's why I leave it to you, or high school coach in general. That's why I leave it to you to answer those questions, but I pose those questions just to play a little bit of devil's advocate. But I think you're right. I'm not gonna say no names specifically because I just don't want to put anybody in a bad light, but I've seen players' relationships with certain coach that made them want to leave. Firsthand, I'm talking firsthand. I'm not going to say no names, but I've seen it happen. Like, I've seen players that I played with growing up in Lansing. They went to South, played at South, but they didn't have a good relationship with the coach and left and went to a different school. Not going to say no names, but I've seen that happen firsthand. Yeah. So it's like, I think you make a good point with that. I just didn't understand it as a kid.
Yeah, me
and
either.
I don't think kids understand it as a kid either.
And the thing is,
But
I understood it though
I
when
didn't.
I understood it as a kid because I'm like, bro, well, how are we gonna be good if everybody keeps leaving? Because remember when we was at Heritage, I went to Heritage, and I know like Lansing is more Memorial. So if you lived in Linwood, you went to Heritage. Lansing and certain
I was
borders, you went to
Memorial.
Memorial.
And then St. Anne's, when St. Anne's was still open too as well.
Exactly. So I remember we would have like I don't know if you all did. I'm sure you did because you were just a year after me. You remember the field day we used to have where Memorial and Heritage go to TF South, and we had we had like an Olympic day where we did like track. We'll run a relay. We played football. We did a whole bunch of different sports at South.
No. So the only field day I ever did was when I was at elementary school. So it would be between Revis, Oak Glen, Coolidge. Am I missing the school? No, I think that's all the three schools. It would be between those schools. I never did a field day at Memorial.
No, we did a field day at TF South, but
But
it
you
was
said it was
with
between Memorial and
yeah,
Heritage.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't
and it
think I
was
ever did. I don't think I ever did one.
yeah, and
Well,
then
explain it. My bad.
yeah,
Explain it.
no, so they just got us all together and we did like field events. So we was sprinting, we was playing flag football, just a whole bunch of stuff. So we all talking like, oh yeah, well, I'm coming here next year. Like we gonna be good. Like football. I was a hooper. I didn't start playing football until high school. So like they all talking about, yeah, I'm going here. We had like so many kids like, yeah, I'm going to Mount Carmel. I'm going here. I'm like, bro, why you going all the way to Mount Carmel? Like, where is that even at? They're like, oh, it's in the city. It's in Chicago. I'm like, why would you go all the way there? He like, man, man, I'm trying to play football. Like, I'm trying to be good. I was like, all right. I was like, how the hell we gonna be good if everybody don't come here? Because we playing football out there. And I'm like, oh, these dudes cold. Like they decent, but they not coming here. And then after freshman year, even more people left. And I'm like, bro, imagine if everybody would have just stayed at South, how good we could have been. So I recognized it then, where it's like, I mean, and I didn't know the extent of why they were doing it. I just understood the effects, the negative effects it had with them leaving. Like, okay, it's only so good we can be if all of the good players are not coming here. So, and it wasn't an option for me. But I'll tell you what, this is how I met Coach Golfer, the Kenwood coach now. He was at Hales when Hales was still around. Kendall, his dad knew about him training. So he started to take me and Kendall to train with Coach Golfer in the summers and during the season. So Coach Golfer used to train me and Kendall. Me and Kendall were about to transfer to Hales.
I never knew that.
Yep, and Coach Golfer was coming to TF South, and he was training us at the field. I went to the school for the first time. I had went there during like a school day, and I was going to transfer after my sophomore year at South. I was going to transfer to Hales, but my parents just couldn't afford to do it. Like driving all the way there, so it just wasn't practical for me to go to school that far away. But even for me, it was like shit. I see how they operating down here. I see how they working, how serious they taking it. They got all these good players, and then another player from South, he transferred out to Hales. So we always gonna meet Kendall and another athlete who went to South was like, man, we gonna go to Hales. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it didn't end up working out that way. But that's just how it works. You start getting around these other environments and other coaches and other programs, and you like, dang, they doing it like this over here. I need to be over here. Cause we not doing this like this where I'm at. And if this is what it takes to get better, I need to be in this environment. And that's usually how it happens.
So it's the relationship, really.
It's the
It starts
relationship.
with the relationship because
Yeah.
I mean, you wasn't gonna go there if you didn't know Coach Golfer.
No,
You
and
know,
yeah, and if it wasn't for Kendall's dad wanting better for us and seeing it from a coach, because Kendall's dad was a long time coaching high school basketball in Illinois, so he's seeing the things we don't see from a coaching aspect. He like, this ain't it, and y'all got to get up out of here. So I mean,
I think we having a conversation that's probably a tough conversation to have because I'm pretty sure there's some elements of this conversation that we're not hitting on as well, like grades
yeah,
and stuff also plays a factor of
oh
why
for
some
sure,
teams like harping on that is an important thing because I can talk from experience my freshman year. We had a really good football team at TSF my freshman year, like for sure. And after that first week of games, like I would have to say like 35% of the team was eligible to play just because of their grades, because
yeah.
of their grades. So like that's also an element to probably that we're not hitting on in depth as well. But man, that man, it gets really tricky, bro, talking about this because you want to know what element of it is excuses. One element of it is that Catholic League schools are just recruiting, or not even Catholic League schools, private schools are just recruiting. And what element of it is you just don't have the talent. I don't think the talent is a big part of that conversation, though. I think it's retaining retaining the talent is probably the main part of that conversation.
Man, it
But
absolutely is, and I want to close this eventually because I know we've been talking
yeah,
for a
my
while, but
bad.
I mean at the end of the day, and I'll leave it with
We'll
this.
close it after this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll close after this point. One thing I realized when I became a coach is not every coach wants to be a great coach. So the people who want to be great, the programs that want to be great, they're going to find a way to be great. It's as simple as that. Look at Sandberg, look at Coach Murph. He didn't run to I don't want to say run to like that, but he didn't go to a Catholic league school or a private school and say, hey, I'm at public schools. I can't win. Let me go to here. Let me get a job at a Catholic school where I can recruit and give me a better chance. No, he was at Back of the Yards. He was at Eisenhower. He's now at Sandberg and able to flip the programs because he cares about winning. He cares about being great. And that's just a general thing. Like, not many people want to strive for greatness, but they want to complain about how they're not great. You know what I mean? So I'll just end it with that. Like, I'm going to stand on the side of it's excuses. And if you want to win, you'll figure out a way to win. Simple as
100%.
that.
But it's a community. I want to bring up a point with Sandberg because you brought up Sandberg. I'm trying to find their Instagram post. I think it's this one right here. So after they won on Friday, and this is just a good example, they had this thing called Victory Saturday. And I'm going to just read the caption from the Sandberg Eagles football page. Today we supported Bellick and the Torgerson families at the Christmas Without Cancer walk in Evergreen Park. And it was after they won, right? And you can see in this video, it's a bunch of the football players, not only the varsity players, but it looks like it's a lot of just the football program as a whole in the community. The following day, on a Saturday after they won, and I'm going to just show it right here, right? And the point that I'm trying to bring is I mentioned a point of when we were at the Sandberg off-season summer camp tour, right? For Sandberg. I said I saw a lot of things. I could kind of tell that something was going to happen good for them this year just because of the things that we saw. We saw them in the classroom. We saw like just everything seemed completely organized. But one of the things that Murph did before every practice, because I came 2 days, and one thing he did before every practice, he would talk to them, right? He would talk about, certain type of things, but then he would also be promoting like community fundraisers and stuff like that. And it was like getting out into the community to talk to people to sell like for certain local businesses and things like that, teaching the kids things that's outside of football, how to be a salesperson, how to be a business person, but also how to get back into the community and promote your community. So that is also an element of what I saw that was happening good at Sandberg that I was like, damn, they probably I just have a feeling it just feels something right is happening here. But that's one thing I want to bring up. I didn't want to go too much in depth on that. But they got into the community. I'm pretty sure a lot of that is not just Coach Murphy spearheading that. It's the program as a whole. It's the whole school as a whole. It's the whole community as a whole.
Yeah.
But to your point, goes a long way.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And that's the most important thing I want people to understand. It isn't just the football coach. Let's get that straight. It's on the adults. I'll just make it general to the adults in the building, the admin. Everybody has to be on the same page of pursuing greatness, because I have heard stories of a coach being on one page and the ad and the principal and the ADs being on a completely different page and going against them. So
and that's probably part of the conversation
that
we're not putting into that as well. So
yeah. So it's just a lot that goes into this. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna say it like this: if the adults are on the same page, everything else will follow. So we could just blame the adults. If it's going bad, it's the adults. It ain't the kids' fault. It's the adults' fault. Whatever's going wrong, it's the leaders' fault, because the teachers are the leaders, the coaches are the leaders, the admins are the leaders. So if all of y'all can't get on the same page and have a common goal and want what's best for the kids, then it'll show. But if you have a team that's on the same page as far as the adults go, and everybody wants greatness, you're going to see greatness. You're going to see the Lincoln Ways of the world. You're going to see the East St. Louis's of the world. You're going to see the Morgan Parks of the world, because even though some of these teams have less resources, they have a family, they have a community, and they have success in the sense of they're building men with great character that are going on to the next level and being successful. Look at Chris Durr Jr. from Morgan Park and how well he's playing at Wyoming.
I just met his dad, actually.
Bro, but look at that, though. He's coming from Morgan Park. He's not coming from Mount Carmel. He's not coming from Brother Rice. He's not coming from a big Catholic school. He's coming from Morgan Park, Park. He's flourishing at the next level. He's not the only one from Morgan Park that's flourishing, but it's just showing that you don't need all of the resources. You don't need the big gyms. You don't need the big fields. You don't need all of the stuff. I mean, shit, they damn near could barely get their buses in order to get to the games and get certain places. But they're still putting out great quality men, and that's what the point is of all of this. It's not to win a state championship. It's rare that you're going to win a state championship, but the end goal is building men, building character, preparing them for life. That's what these programs are doing. And a lot of these other programs are failing at that. That's the bigger issue. That's the real conversation to have. It's bigger than the game. The game is just a product of you doing what you're supposed to do within your program.
Yeah.
That's it. So
I'm gonna say this last thing because you just said another thing that I want to say, and that's why I personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I am against making winning a state championship easier for football and any other sport, because people lose sight of the only goal is to win a state championship. But you brought up a good point. It's really to build young men and women, bro. That obstacle that you're going to put your kids or your athletes through in order to complete that common goal of winning the state championship is going to go way beyond sports. It's going to go way beyond high school. It's going to go way beyond college or whatever. It's going to mold them to a good person in life. It's going to make them understand that you have to work harder for certain things if you really want it. And sometimes the playing field is not an even playing field. And some kids have to understand that, because when you go into life, I don't even want to say life is rigged, but certain people are in certain positions in life. And I learned that as an adult working in corporate America. Certain people are in certain positions of life because they either know somebody, their dad was the CEO, or whatever the case may be. They may be in a position and they may not be as qualified to be in a position as you are, which means that sometimes you have to understand that and see that and not quit and be like, all right, I need to work 10 times harder to get what I want, because I know I'm going up against this. I know I'm going up against nepotism. I know I'm going up against politics. I know I'm going up against this. I need to work 10 times harder because I'm aware of this. I need to work 10 times harder to get where I need to be. So that's why I'm like, when you bring it back to high school sports, why make it easier if you're taking away those valuable lessons that a kid can learn early on in just that common goal of trying to grind to win a state championship? If you make it easier, it's like they kind of get away from it a little bit, maybe a lot, if you try to make it easier. That's why I'm super against making private school and public schools different, state championship series. No, you need that competitiveness, and you got to understand, sometimes you can work your tail off, work your butt off, have a great team, and just fall short. That's what life is. Sometimes you can work your tail off, work your butt off, and I'm taking away from sports, in your job or your career, and somebody can still beat you for a job or whatever just because of they may had known somebody and had a better relationship with somebody or whatever. But those are lessons that you can learn early on. It's not a level playing field. Kids need to understand that. It may not be fair. It may not be fair, but you shouldn't go into it thinking like, all right, I'm gonna just give up and I'm not even gonna try because it's not fair. No, you should want to work 10 times harder. I understand that from a black man. It's not fair for us all the time. It's easier for, let's just call it out as it is, a white person to probably get into certain spaces. But me as a black man, am I gonna be like, man, I'm gonna just give up because of how the game is rigged? No, I'm gonna be aware of that. I'm gonna understand that, and I'm gonna work 10 times harder to make sure that I'm like getting mines for my family and the people around me. You know what I mean? So that's just a good point. Like,
for sure.
I'm so like, we can't get away from the hard work that goes into everything.
Yeah.
There's hard work that goes into everything. That's sports, that's school, that's fucking eating healthy, that's, trying to pursue a specific career outside of sports, whatever that may be. If you go into the army, hard work. Like, bro, it's hard work and everything, and I think people forget that. Luck does not exist. It's not a real thing. It's hard. It's work behind everything, or it's something going on behind. Like, bro, like, we'll stop there.
Yeah, no, definitely.
We've been going on for 40 minutes. My bad, but
no, it's good.
let's get into some of these games real quick.